Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Life in 10, where I take about 10 minutes and give you some thoughts and ideas about what's going on in the world. I got hit up by artists by the name of Nostalgic. We actually worked on a song here in Detroit a couple months ago, but on his Instagram profile, he had a poll that said, do you want to see a song a week or do you want to see a project from him? And I responded with, I would like to see a song a week. And he ended up hitting me up, curious on why I said that, because I'm assuming most people went with, go do a project or go do an album. And I got a couple thoughts on that. It applies to business, marketing, branding, but here's the thing, man. I get in this conversation all the time through my company, Lost Reality Music. New artists hit me up for, ideas and how they can, break themselves out. And first thing I try to tell them is, you can't do the same things that Drake and Eminem do and expect it to work when you're a small and up and coming artist. So I think buying behaviors have changed. We don't always go buy albums now. We tend to hear a single and then go buy that single. We don't buy the whole album, right? We go spend 99 cents. Or we just stream that stuff on Spotify, or we listen to it in a playlist. So when you look at how consumer behavior has changed, I understand from an artist standpoint, it's all about the project and the art, the project. I want to put a whole story together. I got a theme. I get that. And that works for really big artists that have fans that are just going to buy their album. Like when Royce drops an album, I'm gonna buy the whole album because I'm a major Royce fan, right? Tech Nine, same thing. But if you're a smaller artist and you don't have that kind of following, people just aren't going to blindly go, buy your whole album. In fact, they kind of don't care. And it's not meant to be hurtful. It's just that they're not really fans yet. So, if you got, 20,000 followers on Instagram, I'm going to say, ask you how many people are going to buy your album right now. And, the analytics aren't kind, right? You drop an album and you're lucky to sell a couple singles a lot of the time. So knowing that you're a smaller artist, you need to do things that work when you're at that level. You're trying to move the meter from 0 to 1, because you can't get to 2 unless you get to 1. And I think everyone's trying to leapfrog and they want to get to like 10. You can't do that, man. It just doesn't work that way. And something else you got to keep in mind, we're creatures of habit, and people tend to listen to the music they already know and love. So let's say out of 100%, 90% of my time is spent listening to music that's already, in my playlist or music I already bought. And it might have the capacity for like 10% new music. When I say new music, I got people sending me songs, I got playlists, things popping up in the algorithm on YouTube, on Spotify, XM radio. Like, I'm getting pounded with new music. There's so much competition out there. So it's easy for you to get drowned out. So when I say don't go do an album, it's you're going to do an album and then people are going to forget about you 30 days later. And in the same sense, it's like the new companies that go spend $5 million on a Super Bowl commercial thinking that's going to blow their business up. So it blows their business up for like 2 weeks. And then by, April, everyone done forgot who you are because there's so much other noise in the world. So when I'm saying keep putting out singles or a song a week, and this is assuming that the music is great, it's because you need to keep staying in front of people's faces right now as you build an audience. Every small company knows this. You're out there fighting every day against the big guys, the same way you're out there fighting against all the big artists. There's no way you're going to put an album out and then disappear for 6 or 12 months with no new music and expect to keep your momentum. You're out there grinding, trying to gain fan by fan by fan, because you can't just get on the radio. It ain't that easy. So that's my thought anyways. It's just some really basic. If I was building a company right now and I know I need to go compete with billion-dollar companies, I can't do the things that billion-dollar companies do and expect to win. I can't compete at that level right now. I don't have the client base, for example. Just as smaller artists don't have the fans or the following. And, let's separate that too. Someone can follow you and not be a fan. So someone might be interested in you as a person, but it doesn't mean they're going to go buy your album. It doesn't mean they're going to share your album. So things you must keep in mind as a small artist is your whole game right now is staying in front of people's faces and grinding out fan after fan after fan after fan. And it's hard to do that with an album that people really don't want to buy in the first place because they're not that big of fans. So I think every small artist needs to process that. You hear one story where, you know, someone gets discovered and they drop an album and they blow up, and it's like, all right, that works for like 1 out of 1,000 people, maybe 1 out of 10,000 people. But you're programmed from the industry to just, you know, put an album out. You know, you can tour on an album. Like, tour where, dude? If you can't even sell 500 albums when your album drops, where in the hell are you gonna tour? So put that all into perspective and understand that you're just gonna have to keep grinding. You get your stuff on YouTube, it's like 2 cents per play right now. Maybe as high as 5 cents, but take as much money as you can and get your music in front of as many people as possible. The Instagram, all the algorithms out there, they're not kind anymore. They're not just gonna put your stuff out in front of people because you put a hashtag on it. It's pay to play. Like, it's, those social media companies are looking to make money now. And I think a lot of people think I'm just gonna like put my stuff out there and get discovered like Justin Bieber. Like, dude, it doesn't work like that. For, again, 1 in 10,000 people. For everyone else, you're gonna have to grind and find a way to get your music in front of as many people as possible. Take $1,000, go buy, who knows, what can you get? Maybe 5,000, 10,000 plays on YouTube for $1,000. Well, that's 5,000 people that's probably never heard your name before. And you got to keep doing that over and over and over, so until you build a real fan, you know, following and fan base. So, you know, Taco Bell, Subway. Why do they? We all know who they are, man. Why do they constantly run billboards, TV commercials, radio ads? It's because if they don't stay in your face, you go somewhere else, because there's new restaurants popping up all over the place. There's so much competition. They are constantly reminding you that they're Subway, that they're Taco Bell. That's how they keep you from forgetting about them. There's so many choices in the food world now. Like, from where I'm sitting in Troy right now, there's got to be 100 restaurant options in like 2 miles. The only way to really maintain your brand, to maintain your customers that you're following, is to constantly stay in their face, and they know that, right? Likewise, imagine if Taco Bell only launched 1 new product a year, right? And that's all they did. And that's equivalent to you dropping 1 album a year. You know, that just wouldn't work. They would find, they'd go to Chipotle Grill, they'd go to Taco Bell, they'd go to the Taco, there's so many other places, right? They are constantly putting new products out because it gives them a reason to market. Now think about that. New products is a reason to market. So every time you put a new single out, it's a reason to go run an ad campaign on Spotify or Instagram or YouTube. If you're constantly putting out new music, it's constantly giving you a reason to run marketing campaigns. Other than just trying to market the Taco Bell logo, right? It's not, no, check out this new triple decker taco. They create reasons to create marketing ideas and campaigns. So same way, you keep putting out great music, you keep running marketing campaigns behind that music. But here's the most important thing. You're kind of throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks. I'll give you a good example. I write a bazillion posts in my Instagram stories where I'm writing my skits and my jokes. I find the ones that go wild, the ones where I get a couple hundred DMs. Those are the ones I post to my feed. I don't post everything to my feed. I only post the ones that I know go crazy, that everyone loves and everybody shares. I use my story as a testing ground. So, same way, you might put out 10 songs in the next 60 days, and if one of those really resonates with your fans or brings in new fans, then that's the one you go put your money on. And then you market the hell out of that track, because the market now proved they like that one. So, whole bunch of different ideas you can think about. I understand why you want to do an album. That's from an artist perspective. I get in arguments with artists all the time about doing what you have to do to get started, you know, versus what you want to do. Every artist on the planet always wants to do what they want to do, and they want to be all about the art, and I do appreciate that. But often, most of the time, that is not what's going to help you get off the ground and really help you create a career in the music industry. So you're out there fighting with all this noise, 20 bazillion artists out there, man, there's so much competition. You can't do things like the big guys. You're gonna have to keep grinding and putting out new music. You're gonna have to keep marketing new music. You just can't drop an album once a year and hope that everyone's gonna go crazy. Here's the thing. If you keep creating music that nobody knows about, then what the hell's the point? This is something that, I create a new service for one of my companies, and it might be awesome, but nobody knows about it, so nobody can buy it. And that is every up-and-coming artist issue. No one knows about you. So they don't know about you, they don't know about your new music. They're not a fan of your music, and you can be putting the best music out the world's ever heard, but nobody knows about it, so there's no one to listen to it, buy it, and share it. So you have to find ways to build that audience as fast as possible. Sometimes I like creating music with new artists that is similar to an audience that I know I can market to. Like if I go create a brand new food, I don't know who to market that to. People that like food, dude, we all like food. So it's really hard. But I know if I go create some kind of like new taco, then I know to market that to the fans of Chipotle Grill, for example. It's easier as an artist if you're making music that's got, a certain sound or a certain bounce, and then you can go market that to people that like that kind of music. And I know you're gonna say, well, that's not me, and I don't wanna ride no waves, and I don't want to bite no one's style. I mean, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying sometimes you have to create music knowing that you're going to market it to a certain audience. This is like the business principle behind breaking out a new artist sometimes. So it's really hard to market a new sound of music because there's no one that listens to the new sound of music to market to. So sometimes it's just easier to create a couple songs that a particular audience will like. That'll help you build fans, that'll help you build a following, that'll help you get your name out there, and that's going to allow you to do the things you want to do. And I think that's the number one issue when you're dealing with creatives is a lot of times people creating art only want to do the art their way, and I understand that. When I do stuff like that, I get it, but if you're okay spending your whole life not making it because you're not willing to make a little bit of sacrifice, then you just got to be okay with that. For the first 10 years of my life to get my companies off the ground, I had to do a whole bunch of crap I didn't want to do so I could succeed. Even today, I still have to do things I don't want to do if I want to, maintain this level of success. And just think about that. I'm not saying compromise yourself. I'm just saying sometimes you're gonna have to make some sacrifices if you want to get your career off the ground. And again, part of that's going against the grain and saying, I'm going to drop more singles and put out more music instead of focusing on projects and albums, because again, if you don't got a big audience sitting around to buy that project or album, I don't understand the point of the project or album. People will argue that when you do blow up, then people can come back and buy it. Well, sure, you can catalog a bunch of music, and then when you blow up, they can come back and buy it, but the bigger risk is, what happens when you don't blow up and you've got 10 albums sitting out there that no one ever heard or bought because you should have went the other route and put out more singles or smaller projects and then focused on just marketing those over and over and over again. And anyways, that's all I got. We're running over a little over 10 minutes. Make sure you check out Nostalgic. He's a talented dude. You'll see him on TV. He's got some amazing music out there, definitely worth checking out. But to answer his question, why did I pick singles? I just think you need to stay in people's face, and you need a reason to keep marketing new music and find out what works until you build up an audience big enough that they want an album. But that is all I have for now. Make sure you hit subscribe to catch all my new content first, and until then, I'm going to catch you on the next one.